Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. Today, we're stepping into a world that invites us to slow down, breathe deeply, and reconnect with something ancient and essential, the healing power of nature. We're talking about Shinrun Yoku. I hope I said that correctly. It's the Japanese practice known as forest bathing. It's not about hiking or counting steps. It's about immersing yourself in the forest atmosphere, letting your senses guide you, and allowing the natural world to restore what the everyday often drains away. I don't know about you, but lately I've been so stressed out with just everything that's going on. You know, we just got through the holidays and we're starting a new year. So this idea first took shape in Japan in the early 1980s, but its roots stretch much further back. Even Pliny the Elder wrote about the soothing scent of conifer forest. Today, modern research confirms what humans have felt for centuries. Spending mindful time among trees can lower stress, reduce blood pressure, calm the mind, and even support the immune system. Trees release natural compounds called phytoncides, and when we breathe them in, our bodies respond with a surprising boost in well-being. And the beauty of Shinrun Yoku is that it doesn't require a mountain trail or a remote forest. A quiet park, a tree-lined path, even a small patch of green can offer the same invitation. Slow down, look closely, listen deeply, and let nature meet you where you are. Today, I'm joined by special guest author and naturalist Anthony Fredericks, who brings a wealth of insight into the ways nature restores us, teaches us, and calls us back to ourselves. Together, we'll explore the science, the stories, and the simple practices that make forest bathing such a powerful tool for modern life. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's step into the forest together. Discover the timeless secrets of Italian cuisine with the Basic Art of Italian Cooking series by Maria Liberati. That's me. From fragrant basil to silky olive oil, each page is a culinary masterpiece. Taste the passion, embrace the tradition, and create your own masterpieces in the kitchen with my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. Buon appetito, and you can find the books on Amazon.com, Kindle, on marialiberati.com, and on the publisher's website, artoflivingprimamedia.com. And my special guest today is Tony Fredericks. He's an author and retired professor. And he wrote a book all about, again, the healing wisdom of the forest. I always thought that, walking through the forests and all had some, well, actually, there's like a Japanese, let me welcome you first, Tony. Welcome today. But I was just going to say that I lived in Italy for quite some time, and there were areas that you could walk through that were all these pine trees. And in researching more, I learned of some Japanese concept is it called Shinrun Yoku? It means forest bathing, right?
Yes.
So yes, I always thought there was something to that. But so tell us how you got the inspiration for doing this book.
It was sort of interesting. A couple of years ago, I was contracted to write a children's book called Tall, Tall Tree
Uh-huh.
about the animals that live high in redwood trees. So my wife and
Uh-huh.
I took a trip out to Northern California to visit the redwoods, and I took a lot of photographs. Well, we got home and I was going through the photographs, and there was one that struck me. It was a redwood tree, and just above the branches of the redwood tree was the sun. It was about mid-morning. And I
Uh-huh.
said, boy, that tree is reaching for the sun. And then
Wow.
the fact just popped into my head. I remember reading somewhere that 4 of the 5 tallest trees in the world are
Uh-huh.
redwood trees. And I said,
Uh-huh.
why is that tree so tall? Because
Uh-huh.
it's always reaching for the sun. And then the proverbial light
Ah,
bulb burst over my head and said, isn't that a lesson for us as human beings? If we
yes.
keep reaching for the sun, we too can grow tall. And then I began looking at trees in all kinds of different ways. Uh,
Wow.
the Healing Wisdom of the Forest, has
Right.
65 essays about 65 different trees or forests, how
Uh-huh.
we can deal with the regrets in our lives, how to give more gratitude, how to deal with rejection, how to share kindness with other people. And these were just, it was just an incredible rush of ideas just
Wow.
by walking through a forest. And it
Wow.
was just a wonderful epiphany.
Oh my goodness, that is, it's just so very interesting about my last guest, we were talking about, she wrote some books about different things like that animals can teach us. So this is another part of nature that I think is just so fascinating. So it's actually kind of magical. There are things there that people, don't really observe. So I know one of the things I was going to ask you was the life lessons from a 3,500-year-old olive tree. So an olive tree can be that old then, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
there is an olive tree in Mauritius, Portugal, which has
Ah,
attained an age of 3,350 years, plus
wow.
or minus a couple of years. Now, here's something interesting I learned when I did some research on olive trees. We
Uh-huh.
have been cultivating, as humans, we've been cultivating olives for over 8,000 years. In
Uh-huh.
other words, we were cultivating olives before there was anything called written language. And
Ah,
so one of the interesting things I learned about olives, olive trees will start producing fruit at somewhere between 5 and 7 years old. Here's a
mhm.
tree that is 3,350
Oh
years
my
old.
gosh. Uh-huh.
Every year it produces a crop of olives. This
Ah,
year it produced a crop of olives.
oh my
I like
goodness.
I like to think of olive trees as giving trees. Look at
Yes.
all the stuff that they've been giving human beings all over the earth. 90% of olives are crushed into olive oil, and olive oil is one of the most universally used cooking oils that in every culture and every
Exactly.
country. And
Exactly.
we get these wonderful, wonderful, if I can make the segue into culinary,
Yes.
we get these wonderful recipes as a result
Yes.
of the giving of olives. Think about this recipe. How about Greek salad?
Mm-hmm.
Olives, veggies, feta cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How about this? Classic caponata.
Uh-huh.
Eggplant, olives, raisins, olive oil, onions, peppers. What a wonderful and delightful mixture.
Combination.
One of my favorites, chicken marbella.
Uh-huh.
Olive, prunes, capers, herbs. Look at how much olives have, sort of enriched our
Our
lives.
lives.
So,
Exactly.
the lesson to be learned from, if maybe we can enrich other people's lives in the same kind of magical ways.
Uh-huh.
Here's something interesting I picked up is in the research for this book. There's a tree in England called the rowan tree. It
Uh-huh.
has a Celtic nickname, which I can never pronounce, but translated it means wizard's tree.
Uh-huh.
About that, I say, here, have your listeners think about this. Every day, no, excuse me, they, everybody in the world is a wizard.
Uh-huh.
When you wake up in the morning, you have the power to create some magic in another person's life.
Uh-huh.
Trees serve as models. Think of the olive tree and how much it gives. And
Uh-huh.
why aren't we giving in the same way the olive tree gives to us? So that's
Exactly.
one of the lessons in there. Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible information. Yeah.
It is. It is incredible information. I know I always do not like when I see a tree being cut down because it just is like, it's a life and it's a life-giving thing. So, and it just, trees just sort of have that effect on me. I've always felt that there's some kind of something magic to them.
Yeah.
So,
And just to take off on your comment,
yeah,
I invite listeners to think about this. Just like trees, when we cut somebody down, we significantly reduce their opportunities for growth.
right.
Again, another lesson that comes from the forest. Giving
Hmm.
to others has lots of rewards on both sides of the coin.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So there was something else I wanted to ask you, and well, about rejection. We were saying rejection about something about a messy mulberry tree. What was that about?
Well, invite listeners to think about mulberries. Mulberries have a bad reputation because when
Yes.
mulberries fall from the tree, they stain
Yes.
clothes, they stain our
Yes.
cars, they stain our outdoor furniture, they stain our
Yes.
walks. So people automatically reject mulberries as,
Yes.
a messy and very unpleasant tree. Um,
Yes.
but if I may anthropomorphize here, think of the mulberry tree. It could care less about all those rejections. It too
Right.
is also a giving tree. It
Uh-huh.
rejects the rejections in its life, and yet look
Yes.
at the stuff that it gives back to us. Again, another culinary segue here. How about mulberry jam? Okay.
Yes.
Mulberry sugar lemon juice. What a wonderful treat in the
Hmm.
morning. How about mulberry muffins? Instead of blueberries, use
Yeah,
mulberries,
mulberries.
cinnamon and vanilla and flour. Or how
Hmm.
about this one? Invite listeners to consider mulberries, mint, soda, sweetener, and rum, a
Hmm.
mulberry mojito. What a
Oh,
great way to
wow.
spend a summer afternoon on the
Yes, definitely.
mulberries reject the rejections they get, and yet
Ah,
they create something wonderful for us.
right.
There's a saying that's been going around for a long, long time. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
Sometimes we take somebody gives us a grunt or ignores us in the grocery store or bumps their grocery cart into us in the
Right.
parking lot, and we make those items bigger than they are. No, they're just
Yes.
tiny little events. But in our
Exactly.
past world, we sometimes make them, quite a bit bigger than they are. Mulberries
Exactly.
teach us, you know what? Yeah, we're all going to get rejections. It's how we deal with those rejections,
Yes.
rejecting those rejections, and say how can we, be more part of, each other's lives in a very positive way.
Oh, exactly. And mulberries have a lot of health benefits to them that I've been learning about. So they do, whether dried or fresh, they really do have a lot of health benefits to them. But I know of people that have had the trees and they get rid of the trees because they're just messy. But exactly, the best thing is try and just pick them all and so you don't have to cut your mulberry tree down and let it keep growing.
What's the old saying? When life gives you a bunch of lemons, make
Right.
lemonade.
So when life gives you mulberries, I
That's
guess
right.
make some
Makes a
mulberry muffins
pie
or
or a
something.
mulberry mojito.
Exactly, or mulberry mojitos. That's a great idea. And then the other thing, oh my goodness, there was something I lost my computer screen. I wanted to ask you, it was something relating to ponderosa pines. You had said, what's up with that?
Ponderosas, they give so much. They enhance the lives of so many animals. They provide food. They
Uh-huh.
provide a place of shelter. They give back to the earth by making sure that there is um, appropriate nutrients in the soil. They hold the earth back from floods and whatnot. So I,
Uh-huh.
I see ponderosas as sort of celebrating compliments. Ponderosas complement the lives of others. They complement the earth. They complement their own ecosystem.
Mhm.
And I use that as a way of saying probably what we need to focus on is how do we complement others? Let me ask the listeners this two questions. Question number one, when was the last time you received a compliment?
Uh-huh.
Last night? Was it last week? Was it last month? Or can you you can't remember? But here's the bigger question. When was the last time you gave somebody a compliment?
Compliment.
Last
Yes.
night, last week, last month,
Uh-huh.
or you can't remember.
Uh-huh.
Psychologists tell us that compliments, when we get a compliment, it's like receiving a sum of cash or a good night's sleep. We feel
Uh-huh.
inside, we've got a little more pep, we've got a little more, a quicker step.
Uh-huh.
As we walk, we just feel a little bit better. But in our multitasking world right now, we don't give a whole lot of compliments to each other. But
Right.
ponderosas teach us if we compliment others, if we compliment the environment in which we live, we grow to be better human beings as well. So I think
Exactly.
ponderosas serve as models for us all,
Oh,
and lending a helping hand. It's sort of, I like to think of it as kindness as at its best.
yes, yes, definitely, definitely. So we're almost out of time, but anything else, any other tree you want to mention or
No,
give a
but
shout out to?
I've got 65 trees
Oh
in
my
the
gosh.
book, and I would mention the fact that this whole thing we call gratitude, trees
Uh-huh.
always giving back to us. They bring
Right.
sunshine and joy in our life. They make our lives better. We should do no less than the people that we encounter every day. I'll also say that we know that from physiological and psychological studies that a walk through a forest relieves our stress, reduces our blood pressure,
Uh-huh.
lowers our heart rate, makes us feel better. So I would suggest to listeners, the more time you can spend in a grove of trees or in a long forest, the better you're doing for yourself,
Right.
psychologically and physically, but
Yes.
also you're getting some lessons, some very valuable lessons in how to make other lives better while at the same time growing and making your own life better as well.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, trees are magical, and there's so many things you can learn from the trees, which you did, and I know it's all in your book. So that's wonderful. So tell everybody where they can find your book. Can you hold it up again and tell everyone where they can find this?
It's
Yes,
called The
The
Healing
Healing Wisdom.
Wisdom of the Forest, and the subtitle is Timeless Lessons of Renewal, Tranquility, and Joy. The book is available in any major bookstore, a big box store such as Barnes and Noble, or your local independent store, or
Uh-huh.
it can be ordered directly through Amazon.
Great. That's great. That's great, Tony. Much success with the book. Really interesting. And hopefully we'll have you on in the near future. I'm sure you're working probably on another project, right?
Yes, I
I'm sure.
am.
I'm sure. You sound like somebody that's very creative and always working. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Maria. Really,
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Much success.
okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks as always to my producer, Britton Roselle, and this week's special guest. And I hope you got some tips on forest bathing. If you do get to try forest bathing or are out in the greenery, take some photos, share them on social media. If you hashtag the Maria Liberati Show, we will also share them at the Maria Liberati Show. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Twitter or X at Maria Liberati, on, Vimeo at Maria Liberati, on our YouTube channel, which is called The Maria Liberati Show, and Pinterest at Maria Liberati. And you can also find all of my Gourmand World award-winning books, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, at Amazon.com and Kindle. And there you can also find audiobook versions of my books. And you can also find the books on the publisher's website at artoflivingprimamedia.com and Barnes & Noble, and really anywhere books are sold. And until next week, peace, love, and pasta.